card, and then we should be good to go. All right, I think we're good now.
Okay, I thought she was doing it. That's why I asked. So good morning, everyone. It's Friday, March 15th. It's 9:33. This is a meeting of the Weston Board of Education Financial Facilities and Operating Committee. We have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is an update of facilities and ground maintenance. Mike, you want to take it?
You got it. I apologize today. I have to leave about 10 o'clock. We've had some canceled and rescheduled meetings with the Beta Group, which is doing our asphalt assessment. So I will walk through at 10 o'clock with them, but my end should be relatively quick. Okay. Making a change, getting the fields ready for athletics. Pitchers and catchers began last Saturday. Rest of athletics, spring sports start actually tomorrow. So we've been in the process, even though we're down a number of people. Getting all our courts ready, getting our fields moving, flipping clay, doing some general maintenance on the fields. Feel like we're in a pretty good position with all the deluge of rain that we've had for the past 7 or 8 months or so. So I feel like we're in pretty good shape. We'll see what happens when the kids step off the field tomorrow, because I'm sure they're going to be outside. The weather looks like it's just going to be an overnight, maybe shower, maybe a little bit of rain. Maybe first thing in the morning. So I believe that they will be outside. So we'll have a look at the fields on Monday when we get back on campus and see where we are. We had a meeting a couple weeks back about portables being taken down and new portables being put in. So drew up a plan for Board of Education needs on this new piece. We're also exploring temporary locations for our office personnel to go, since we have to disperse. We're looking into a couple different schools.
Can you talk more about that? Because that seems to be a moving subject, and I'm not quite sure what's going on there now.
Yeah, very quickly moving. It sounds like as of June, early part of June this year, the portables that have been in place now for 20 or 25 years are going to be demolished, so to speak, and taken away. If you don't know the portables, they're all trailers. So the plan is to do whatever they can do, get the trailers out of here, clean the site, whatever asphalt is damaged underneath, and bring it to other portables. And that'll be a portable situation the next. I guess they're hoping for about a 5-year plan. So,
but can we just go back to that one more time? It's April, and this is taking place in
yes,
month.
It sounds like the early part of June. Yes.
And who's planning this?
This is the town.
No, I know it's the town, but I'll repeat my question. Who's planning this?
Steve, real quick. So there's still a lot that's left to be done in terms of coordination and planning on this entire project. So even though the plan right now is really set for a start date of mid to late June, there's still a lot to be determined. And also, ultimately, what's going to be driving this is the ultimate funding by the Board of Finance. So there's still a lot of discussion that still needs to happen. We really have just started, as Mike mentioned, just the preliminary discussions with the town. So right now the point persons are Larry and Carl. So we're really just in the initial phases of anything that could possibly happen. So it's a lot. There's a lot of unknowns. You know, we were told that it's a possibility that we may be doing in moving in June. So what we're doing, we're really just planning, right? If this is indeed the case, we have to do whatever it is that we need to do to move. From our perspective, we do not know if it's final, but we're just we've been prudent and we're planning accordingly.
So I'm going back to my original question. It's June. Are we being told this is taking place? Or are we a participant in determining if it's taking place?
At this point,
well, I guess there's another question to that. Do we want it to take place?
what we want to do, Steve, is that we want to do whatever is going to be best, right? Ultimately for everyone. We could consider there are options that Mike has laid out where, if at all possible, if the structure itself can accommodate extending, or that if this is indeed a temporary plan, right? What could happen is that we could remain in the site, we could replace the roof, and we could replace the rooftop units.
Right.
So that is an option, but it all depends on structurally if there's truly if that can be done. From our perspective, by this option, as Mike recommended, is a more cost efficient option than pretty much building a new semi-permanent structure, because if you base things on past experience, once your structure goes up, it becomes permanent.
That's right. So are we sharing that information with the town, with Larry and whoever else is involved?
At this point, Steve, what the process is I've been in contact with our roofing contractor. I've been in contact with a mechanical company, a rigging company, to see what the cost would be for a new roof, new curbs for the rooftops, a new gutter system, and also replacing with new energy efficient rooftop units. So I'm pretty far along in the process. I'm very confident that by the end of next week, I will have all costs in place of what it would take to close up this building envelope and change the air quality and the rooftop issues that we have. Basically, the issues that we have in this building are just a little bit of water infiltration, just because of its age, because the units are connected, and the units are an old, out of date, out of service R22 refrigerant. So by the end of next week, I should have all costs in place as to bring this to proper years.
Okay. And if we were to tell the town we're just not ready to move yet, well, we should take this offline, because this seems to be moving faster than, there doesn't seem to be a plan on the part of the town. So we can talk about that, and I'll bring that up. But this seems to be taking on a life of its own without a lot of planning for all the relative parts. We haven't even spoken about the police department yet. Anyway, we can move on. Sorry.
Yep, no problem. Agreed. Otherwise, we're on campus, inside buildings. Another, knock on wood, quiet month. Just typical preventive maintenance, general repairs, and that's about it. I don't really have a whole lot to report. So it's been a good end of the winter, and looking forward to spring.
It's always spring in baseball.
Yeah. I have two quick questions, Mike. The first thing is just following up on Steve's line of questioning on the portables. Will you, no matter sort of where we are, I know, Steve, there are discussions that are happening that are beyond this committee, but will you come to us next month, Mike, with some sort of process and laying out sort of the options, what the ramifications are so I'm trying to level set myself here, right? Sounds like there are a couple of options here. There's renovate, there's demolish. Understanding process, timing there, cost, of course, and then what the ramifications of doing one versus the other would be. So level setting there would be helpful for me as well. I agree with Steve's point in that I guess I'm not clear as to whether or not we're being told what to do here, or we're active participants. So that would be helpful. Secondly, the last meeting we talked about sort of staffing issues that you had, Mike, that you were dealing with. I think there were 3 or so people that were going to be out for about 6 weeks. Are you anticipating? So how has that gone? I assume that's gone pretty well in terms of putting the Band-Aid on. And are you expecting those people back now as we approach the end of 6 weeks, or has anything changed there?
Yeah, your first question. Yeah, hopefully before the next meeting, I will have a little bit better of an idea. All of us will have a better idea and understanding of where we're heading.
Yes.
The maintenance and repair aspect to the building is just something that we're going to introduce as something that maybe put this to halt, but that's just something that we'll discuss later. As for being down, three gentlemen, yeah, we're still down. When we discussed it in the earlier meeting for February, it was just the beginning of it. It had just begun. So I anticipate these are just rough timings, possibly 4 weeks to get one gentleman back, and then it could be another month and a half for another one, and the third gentleman is kind of, it could be a little bit further along. But yeah, we're moving along. We're doing some changes. In the middle of winter is a little bit different. We have some departments that we can move into other departments. Now that we're getting into this type of weather and spring sports are beginning, we're just shuffling different pieces around. So we're confident that we can get through this without needing any additional assistance. And it's just, it's a little bit more on our end of the just the understanding of what's going on. So we have a good hold of this, and it's going to be a daily. I don't want to call it a challenge, but things could change day to day. But we have the pieces in place that we can move around.
Okay, yeah, it seems like some of those people, the time frame for them to come back got pushed out a little bit, because I think, and maybe you were using just shorthand before when you said, "Hey, look, these three individuals were down. We're down for about 6 weeks." That was about a month ago. So my anticipation was, hey, in the next, let's call it 2+ weeks, we'll get these guys back. But it sounds like it's going to be a gradual return over an extended period of time.
Yeah, it'll be gradual. We had a couple of delays with doctors' offices, with storms and things like that. So yeah, we're talking probably 4 weeks, probably 6 weeks, and then it could be a few months. So yeah, we're at the very early stages when I mentioned at the last meeting.
To turn left onto Schuylkill Avenue.
Please, if possible, we're getting some feedback from. Thank you. Just to talk real quick, just about this entire project with the trailer, right? It's less about us presenting what the cost could be, right? Because it's really not our project, and it's. I think we need to really take a step back, and we may need to just have a different conversation with the town, because it is not a Board of Ed project. Even if we do present those costs, ultimately, at the end of the day, we would like for it to be a joint discussion or a joint approval, but there's a lot of work that still needs to happen, and a lot of discussion that still needs to happen, right? So we were just trying to be diligent, right? And that's really pretty much all that we can do at this point.
I would only act. I don't want to use protect, but that's sort of the emotion here. We also have interests such as our IT fidelity and security and staff productivity. I mean, these things count for something, right? So that our input actually is imperative, because there's implications for that, among others. But yes, ultimately, the town of Weston wants something to happen with the trailer. So we can only advise on, from our interests, as long as security, IT integrity, and staff productivity is maintained or enhanced, we're in, right? I think that's a fair assessment of why we have an interest in this.
I'm not sure that's correct. I'm not sure that building belongs to the town, and the property belongs to the town. But we can get into that. It just seems like we're being told what to do without being included in the process. And it may go forward perfectly fine, but it's like a lot of other things. It needs to be properly vetted, and I don't think it's being properly vetted.
All right, that's all I have on my end, unless you guys have any
Okay.
other questions.
Good for me. We want to move on to the next
No,
topic.
thanks, Mike.
Phil, healthy initiatives. Is that you?
Sure, Peter, you wanna chime in on this, or we have this as a standing item?
Right. So you had a nice discussion with the DOE. Sorry I couldn't participate. And I think we're a candidate. It's a good program now that you've had a chance, this is to Phil, to look at sort of the program outline and the timeline. It's not overly demanding on the school, but it definitely gives us something to inform the EOC. But we may lose out if there's a competition to here to Boston Public Schools, which in our last meeting they're pretty advanced in their thinking, and so be it, right? I mean, it'd be nice to secure this. I think we'll do our diligence, and Mike has said, will take some photos. But maybe that Boston Public Schools has a little more experience than us, and they were able to respond a little better, right? Because they're already in the mix. But as long as it's not too demanding on the preparation to be a candidate and we have potential for winning this little pilot, I think we should proceed, right? And we'll see how the chips fall, right? If it's manageable and we can do it, great. If Boston Public Schools has a little classroom they've already dedicated to it, that's great too. We'll ask for what they learned, right? And maybe we'll apply it next time. Is that a good summary? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, it's a good summary. They told us, they'd get back to us. I'm going to get them the information that they need, the pictures that they need. They told us that, we're second choice at this point. We're the alternate. But they also said that even if we're not chosen, that they would share some of the information and the findings that they found with this school system. So if we get accepted, great. If not, at least we'll get some feedback from the other system and how everything moved along and how it progressed and what the testings were.
All right. So you'll submit the work, the photos they need, and they'll inform us where we stand. We'll move on from there. So I guess we should move to the next item.
Yes, financial. Phil, you want to take the financial side?
Sure. So we're getting closer and closer to year end, and as we do that, there will be greater variability to the projections. I'm trying my very best to kind of get us as close as we can to what that ultimate final number will be, but we're making progressive step towards the year end. The next step or next significant move from this point on will be a greater review of existing purchase orders, just to see if there need to make any changes to those, to encumbrances and stuff like that. So over the next 2 months or so, we'll start to do that. So where we are now, right now, we do have a month-over-month change of approximately $257,000, primarily driven by various changes for salaries. We had turnover in the administrator level. And we also had an extended maternity leave, which will have savings for the end of the year. So salaries will have about a $69,000 savings there. The big number that we have for this month really has to do with electricity. Last month I did mention that I'll take a greater look in that. So there's two things driving this, right? And this has to do with our virtual net metering service. So last year, or in August of 23, we pretty much maxed out in terms of credits. So we had some lingering credits or some carry forward credits of approximately $107,000. In addition to that, so it's a combination of the credits and also not generating between August and roughly mid to the end of December. So if we're not getting any credits, the projects will not charge us for generation. So we're not paying for that, which is a savings of approximately $112,000, give or take on the generation side. And for net credit between carry forward credit and projected credits, we're going to be over by approximately $50,000. So all in, those are the main drivers for the savings that we will have for electricity. I took a look at where we are for natural gas, and we're pretty much trending close to where we plan we will be. There's not a lot of change in terms of kilowatt usage for the month so far. We did see some increase on the delivery side. I'll continue to monitor that to ultimately see where we will end up. So really, that's pretty much it in terms of where we are for this month in terms of significant savings and stuff like that. As I said, it's going to be some variability between now and the end of the year.
And how different is this? Do you think this might be versus our last conversations with the Board of Finance
In terms of, Steve?
in terms of surplus?
The only thing that we have from our surplus perspective is that we do currently have here a placeholder for $230,000 that could be used to offset the capital budget.
Yep.
So if the Board of Finance decides that they do not want to use that for capital projects, that will increase the end of year surplus. So right now we have 230, so that will get us to close to $500,000 if the Board of Finance decides that that's not the way they want to, the approach they want to take.
But that's post the encumbrance for purchasing non-recurring items.
That is post, correct.
Okay.
So those non-recurring items have already been factored in.
So the surplus is increasing.
Correct.
Okay. All right. We should have that conversation with the Board of Finance.
Of course we will.
Yeah.
So in summary, Phil, with respect to surplus, rough numbers, it looks like if we froze today, we would have about $250K in unspent capital budget dollars and $250K in unspent operational budget dollars. Did I hear that correctly? So for the total, it would be about $500,000.
When you say unspent capital dollars, can you just clarify that for me, Peter?
Well, you said we have a capital budget surplus of $250,000.
No. What I said was that we have earmarked money in our operating budget that can be used to mitigate our capital budget for fiscal year 24-25.
Okay, that's consistent with our last meeting. All right, have we identified to the Board of Finance specific
at our
budget?
I'm sorry, specific items for?
Right, you said we could make this shift, right? Have we identified what we would spend it on in the short term?
Yes. In our preliminary meeting with the Board of Finance for the 24-25 budget, we did outline a few items that we could potentially use the 230 for. Again, it's ultimately to be voted on, right? But we did mention that money was there because they wanted to have an idea as to how we were trending for the end of year surplus. So we did flag it, but again, ultimately, what happens is going to be based on the vote.
So the timeline of progress is we have our ATBM, right? Things.
So the timeline in terms of the budget, the Board of Finance will vote early April, and then from that it will go to the ATBM on April 24th.
And if everything's green lit, you may have the ability to do some capital spending in May and June. That's the timeline, correct?
If everything, once it's approved to be capital, we could sort of kind of extend that. Once the money's encumbered as of year end, we'll have some time to spend that money.
But just to put this in perspective, in our last meeting, the Board of Finance was okay with using, not that it's their decision, but using part of the surplus for pre-purchasing non-recurring items. They did push back on using part of the surplus for capital expenditures. And I don't think that's been resolved yet.
No, I don't think let's say it's still pending.
It's still pending.
Right. I mean, ultimately, we won't know how it's going to go, Steve. And I don't want to start to speculate. Listen, at the end of the day, if they decide that it's not going to happen, right, we will have a surplus, let's say for $500,000 as of today, and that money will get returned to the town. Will get put back in the unassigned fund balance, and the town can do with that money as they choose.
Right, and it sounded like in our last meeting with the Board of Finance on capital, they were more likely to do that. I mean, it's all fungible money. I mean, it's not like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we may have different opinion in terms of that if that was the general consensus, Steve. But I think there was some pushback, but I don't think that it was a general consensus that of not to do it. As you said, it's fungible money, right? And it's all going to go in the same bucket. So we'll see ultimately how it all plays out.
Yeah, okay. Well,
All right, thank you. I missed the Board of Finance interaction, so now it's a little clearer to me. So
okay, are there other questions for Phil on this?
Just a quick question for me, Steve.
Sure.
When do we expect that to get resolved in terms of the Board of Finance making a determination as to whether or not we're gonna be able to apply this 230? Is that the next meeting, or is that still 2 months away? Sort of, we find out sort of when everything is finalized. Are we expecting that to be resolved in the next meeting?
I guess, Phil, we should have a conversation with Mike Imber and Jeff Farr.
Okay.
But in terms of the vote, I think it's set for April's 8th.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's fungible, guys, right? I mean, ultimately, all the money is fungible, but by turning it over to the town, obviously, we do lose the ability to ensure that some of those funds get applied directly to things that obviously are pertain to the to the district, to the school district. So anyway, just a comment. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay. Do you want to move on to RFPs, Phil?
I will, but Mike, just so you know, right? It's not as if we're even though we won't be able to. Let's just, if the Board of Finance decides not to use this surplus for capital, we still have that money in our capital budget, which is pending their approval. So it won't be Board of Education money directly that will be used for those capital projects, but those capital projects, assuming that they're approved, will have funding to address those needs.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Guys, I need to
Moving on to the RFPs.
So thank you very much. We'll see you at the next meeting.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
On RFPs, so we've been discussing for the past several, maybe 2 meetings or so, that we have several expiring contracts. So we did get some pricing on from some of our existing vendors. I've been giving this some thought, and even after discussions with the Board of Finance and also with the Board of Selectmen, I am going to recommend that we do issue RFPs pretty much for all of our contracts. And the main reason for that is that we, outside of the RFP process, right? If we do the RFP, it'll give us an opportunity to truly verify that the pricing that we're getting from our vendors, that they're good numbers, that they're solid, right? Or if it's not. So the main reason to do that is just to verify. It's a source of verification that, hey, the prices that you told us is the best price is indeed the best price. In addition to that, that will align us a little bit more with the direction that the town has been going, but ultimately the Board of Finance, is that there's a greater push to issue RFPs. So we do want to align with the town, and just like what we do with everything is really just to be a better partner, and really just to do ultimately our due diligence and to be prudent in our decisions. So the plan is to start issuing RFPs this month. We have started to work on the RFPs. We will issue them this month within the next 2 weeks or so to have them back by April. And then we'll have our discussions in terms of ultimately who it will be awarded to. At the end of the day, the Board of Education ultimately determines who the contracts will be awarded to. And I think, Michael, from when we did the RFP for the leasing, you said, what are our criteria, right? This is going to be a little bit different, where it's not just about pricing. Pricing is one component, but it's really what is the full package. And we'll have different criteria in terms of how we will pretty much assess the vendors, and we'll make an ultimate decision. So I just wanted to give the committee just a heads up in terms of what the change of plan is.
But these are RFPs for the bus contract, the food service contract, and the janitorial contract?
That's correct.
And what's the timing of the three?
The timing is mid-March to have the bids back, late April to early May.
For all three? For all three?
Fall 3.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, fall 3.
Okay.
That is the update on the RFPs.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Are there questions on that? That's great.
No, I think that's a prudent way to go, Phil. So appreciate the heads up here, and look forward to seeing those in the next month or so.
Perfect.
Okay.
And great. So the next item is just to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any changes to those? If not, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And I.
There's nothing. If there's nothing else, a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Okay. All right. Is there a second to that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
See everybody Monday night.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Have a great
Thanks,
weekend.
guys.
See you a lot. Thank you.